Hey everybody, this is Rich from GOOFON. I've got a really good special for you today. You are gonna love what I've got here for you. Obviously, you can see it. I have Dr. J Radio Live. I have Blake and Brent Cousins. I got Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal, Apollo Asteria, and the UFO historian, Michael SCHRATT. We are gonna go over one big question. And this question is, what is going on with the SOD inside the DOD? Remember about a week and a half ago, Luis Elizondo said they're trying to fight to get this office of the SOD, the Secretary of Defense, inside the Department of Defense, the DOD. So what that means is that there won't be any more UAPTF. I didn't know that was temporary, but it is, according to Lou. So that is going to establish a permanent residence for a UAP office of the SOD inside the DOD. So that will solidify a permanent capability for study. Now, that also forces the Secretary of Defense to report annually to Congress about what they've learned about UAPs. They got to do that once a year. So that is interesting. We'll see if that works. It also requires us to work with our international friends, as Lou says. So we will be getting information. I think that is the main focal point, is seeing what the rest of the world has. Any materials, this is a good one, UAP materials, UFO materials, they have to be reported to Congress as well. And I have a big ha next to that. I'd like to see how much evidence they get. And the last thing here, government, like I was saying, has to report to Congress, but they have to report any medical issues that come up with being near a UAP, UFO, or handling materials. So this is unbelievable if it's true, and it is, because they're going to vote on it, I think, or they're going to have a talk about it. All right, so I am going to start with Dr. J Radio Live, who later today, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, has Whitley Strieber on. Dr. J Radio Live, welcome to GOOFON. What do you think about this UAP office in the DOD?
You know, I think that's a great idea because, see, when Lou first leaked the two videos, or three, Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast, that essentially sort of ended the task force. Remember, he kind of went rogue, and that's why he kind of violated stuff, but at the same time didn't violate by giving the good stuff. So I would expect this transition. However, when you said that they have to report to Congress annually, well, look what happened in June. Closed door sessions. I don't think that first, Congress is ever going to get everything. And second, they're never going to tell us anything. I have no faith in this administration. I have zero faith in Lloyd Austin or anybody else up on the Hill right now. These rhinos and whatever else swamp creatures they are, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Because the government has a really, really bad history of telling us one thing, promising one thing, and then delivering nothing.
But if they're legally bound, you don't think that it matters at all?
Well, okay, if they are legally bound, they're going to do the same thing in June. They're going to give the closed door session. So they might be revealing a lot, might be not revealing the best stuff, but a lot more stuff than we're ever going to see. But again, closed door sessions is the key. That is what prevented us from getting the info from the June 25th report.
Yeah.
They got to brief it privately and then come out and make some, basic statements that we've already known. We were expecting a lot more than that. I am going to say what you said about the medical issues. Very, very interesting, because we've always known that people that come in contact with UFOs, UAPs, and possibly the pilots themselves suffer from nausea. Look at the case in Texas, the Betty Cash incident, the Cash Landrum incident, right? You have some sort of diamond-shaped craft. They all develop radiation burns. This stuff needs to be told and shared because this is evidence.
Yeah, well said, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more thing. So do you think this will come to fruition, that we will see this office of the SOD inside the DOD?
Again, they turn so slowly, the wheels of government. I mean, is it going to be 6 months, a year, 5 years? I mean,
It'll
when?
be next year. It'll be next year.
Okay. I mean, I hope they stick to their word because we all got excited about June.
Yeah, you're right. Good answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So as far as this office inside the DOD, Secretary of Defense having a UAP permanent office. I'd like to go to Blake Cousins from Third Phase of Moon. What do you think about this permanent office? Yay or nay? It's not 100% yet.
I would say yay, but my only concern is, so they're going to open up an office. Is there going to be a public phone line where civilians could report their UFO encounters and evidence? Because if that's the case, I'm all for that, because I think we deserve transparency. I think there should be an office where the people can go and report. You know, we take the reports and the information from the public. That's what we do at Third Phase Moon. It's almost like a public service, because we feel that it's our responsibility when we receive the information that we got to share it with the world as fast as possible. I think the government should step in and kind of take that role as well, because the budgets that these guys have could really help in the field if there is some kind of crash retrieval or evidence left behind from a landing. They could go out and investigate it. Who's going to get hired in this UAP office? I think it should be people within our field, the people that have been studying it so long. We should be getting the phone call saying, hey, look, we're opening up an office. Bring your evidence. Here's the contacts. You deal with them. You know the language behind this. These people are jumping into something that they really, if they're going to fill the seats at this office space with people that have no background in this field, then I would say nay. And if it's only going to be reported behind the scenes, if it's like a top secret, if they're only dealing with military UFO sightings, again, I'm all about transparency in this field. And if they're going to open up an office and start, seriously investigating this in a public nature and form where everybody's involved, then this is a good thing. But I got a feeling that it's not going in that direction in any kind of shape or form. I think what they're going to be doing is, again, kind of like what Robert Bigelow did with MUFON, where he bought out MUFON and received all the information first. And he was able to pick and choose the information before it went to the public. And again, this is not something we need if it's going to be in that kind of format.
Excellent points. Yeah, all makes sense, because that's what we're hoping this is going to do, is be more transparent than we've ever seen. But they're going to pick. They can't just show us a UFO if they get one. I know that's not going to happen, because it never has. Unless it's clear. Yeah, I know. Third Phase of Moon does. That's why when Apollo said earlier that in another episode, I forget where we are, that this will be from the public. We've been trying to do that forever, the public trying to bring it out, but we just don't have that evidence yet. So anyway, next, I want to go to Apollo Asteria. Welcome to GOOFON, Apollo. What do you think about this SOD office?
Well, thank you for having me on. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks.
I think this office would be a very important development, and I do feel that it will most likely happen because of the way that disclosure has been ramping up over the past year. I just feel it would be very important, and it makes sense. And it would be amazing to see more transparency in regards to the topic of UFOs or UAPs, whatever they're calling them now. And, I think it'd be really incredible to see. But honestly, from what I feel about this is I don't believe that it's going to be about the ET topic. I feel that this is going to really be about foreign powers and foreign military powers and the craft that they're working on. I feel that that's why they have decided to do this. If they do this, I feel that the focus is going to be on, because like the New York Times and all these different reports that came out earlier in the year in regards to like UAPs, they were saying like, it's probably China or Russia coming over here with their new technology that we don't know about. And that could very likely be true. I mean, I'm sure our government has technologies, possibly even reverse engineered technologies that are beyond what, we've seen in Star Trek, Star Wars, So, I mean, I think it's very likely that there's governments around the world that are working on craft that are, beyond what the general public thinks that they have. They could even already have anti-gravity technologies they're working on, and it's fairly likely that they could be coming here and, you know, deactivating our nuclear bases and going over different bases and doing these things. It might not be ETs that are coming here and doing this. So I feel that honestly, that's probably a lot of what this is about. And especially with us starting the Space Force, I mean, it just goes hand in hand with that. And obviously, you know, this is going to be a planetary thing. When our Space Force started, I know other governments have their own Space Forces that they're starting, or their own versions of that. And, you know, this is going to be, when it comes to the military aspect of everything, it's really could be a major threat if, you know, China or these other foreign powers have these technologies that could be, you know, like space lasers from like satellites and, you know, different kinds of craft. And, you know, I've heard supposedly our government may have been planning a fake ET invasion for a long time, and, you know, who knows what's going to happen. But I feel that what this would really have to do with, for the most part, would be the military aspect of things and not ETs, unfortunately.
Thank you. I appreciate that. On another subject for you, your Grow 2, your little your doll right there, baby. What is that, Baby Yoda? Do you have a name for?
I thought you were just calling me a baby for a second.
Oh no, no, the name of that's his name. His name is Grow. Isn't it Grow 2 or something like that?
It's Grogu.
Grogu.
Yeah.
Did you make him a female version or?
No, I just put a hat on him.
Oh, okay, because it just looks like it has earrings on, you know, and a dress.
I actually got this at Area 15 in Vegas, which was a really awesome place. I don't know if any of you have been there, but I mean, it's like, it's called Area 15, but it's kind of like this alien kind of thing in Vegas where it's like an art installation.
Yeah.
They have these different artists put their own art installations in there.
Cool.
And at the first time I went, they had this entire room that was like, you go in and it's like being abducted by a spaceship or like a UFO. And I mean, it has this like crazy sound, and I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, it was wild, and they sell these different things there.
Did you name? Did you give her a name or him a name? Or are you going to keep it Grogu?
I just call him Baby Yoda.
Okay. Just curious, man.
I mean,
hey, it's your studio is beautiful, and I love Grogu, so thank you very much.
I actually have a collection of alien babies at home.
No.
I don't know what that's about. I mean, maybe I had a weird thing with that where I was abducted before. Who knows? But I have a collection of alien babies, as I like to call them, and actually, like, people give me stuffed animal ones all the time. And I'm sorry, this is a weird tangent, but
no, I appreciate it because I've got them too. All right, thank you very much. I've got all the babies too. All right, thank you very much, Paula Asteria. You can check her YouTube channel out too. It's awesome. The background looks great. Your studio is coming along beautifully. So let's get going here and continue because we spent a lot of time already. Who do I got left? Do I have Brent? Is that Brent Cousins from Third Phase of Moon? I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah,
what is it about the SOD? Sorry.
I know. Yeah. Well, it's great to be here on GOOFON, the panel, everybody teaming up again, getting the information out as fast as we could get it. I thought the government already made their program. Wasn't it called AATIP? And what is this going to be? AATIP Part 2, it seems to me.
That's what TTSA was.
It's like, I think there's $22 million spent on a program in the government where they kept it a secret. Why did they shut that down if it was indeed shut down? I'm thinking it's still probably operational. They're always going to be discussing and have a department inside the DOD or some sort of compartmentalized program where they're talking about UFOs on a daily basis, I'm sure. And this is more so mock, I would say, kind of department they're trying to develop. Who's going to be in charge? Is it going to be Rubio, or are they going to bring back Lou to be the chief of the panel? Has there even been a comment on who's going to be the person representing UFO conversations when the public asks? It seems that, like Dr. J says, everything moves so slowly over there. I really don't see this happening in the near future. There was an interesting conversation when Lou was talking to Tucker a couple weeks ago, and he brought up the fact that these Air Force pilots are encountering and receiving maybe injuries from close encounters with
Right.
UAPs. What's the technology? It almost sounds like it's more human technology behind the Tic Tac. What are they powering this thing up with? Maybe it's nuclear reacted or some sort of strange chemicals they're playing around with. I don't think ET craft would actually harm anybody in my point of view. So what we're looking at is, I think, a cover up, some sort of compartmentalized inside program that they just don't want to give us everything, and they're just doing this as kind of like, yeah, to make the people happy, but it's just a cover up in its own self.
To make the people happy. We're such a small group, though. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying is they should do what Third Phase of Moon has been doing. Showcase everything and let's figure it out together. That is what I think they should be doing. But something might slip in that they don't want us to see, that they know they've seen before. And we may have run across real UFOs without even knowing it and calling them hoaxes. But I know, I appreciate you commenting on it. Do you think that it'll happen or not really? That we'll have this office of the SOD and the DOD for UAPs?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, you know what? They're talking about it, so it's already in the work. So we're going to get something. We're going to get a department. How much money are they going to put into it? Are they going to blast 22 million? I think that's still a pretty low number. They should get it up to maybe 100 to 300 million to get started, so they could really get the people on the ground, the boots on the ground, and get the information out. $22 million won't even get you a low budget movie in Hollywood. So what are we really talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. 22 million is not a lot when it comes to investigating anything or making up a department in the Pentagon. Thanks. I appreciate it, Brent. And who do we got left here? Michael? Are you the last one? I thought so. I'm going to bring you on. Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. Welcome to GOOFON. I appreciate you coming on here. So you heard the question. What is your take on this office of the SOD and the DOD at the Pentagon?
I think it's a fantastic idea. Whether, again, we're talking about time to put something like this together. Dr. J, illustrated it perfectly, saying that, these gears move so slowly. I think that that's what they're going to aspire to. And I do believe that there will be some sort of form of that coming to fruition. But again, we're looking at some amount of time. The questions are great that you guys are bringing up here. And the most prominent for me is, again, as you said, who's going to be in charge? I mean, that's a huge question. And the integrity on an office like that certainly lies on the people involved and those, behind the controls. Now, when you have to report all these different things in way of anomalies or experiences to this particular office, is a person like Elon Musk or Branson going to have to report what they see out on their gallivants into space? With the with the commercial travel going into space becoming something more accessible for the common man, I should probably put that in quotations, but nonetheless, the option is there. Are we going to have to, go down to the office if we go up into space and see something anomalous? Or, how are they going to really enforce this sort of thing? Of course, they're putting it on the public to come forward and do this. And of course, this is sort of a smart move considering there are so many of us and so many having experiences every single day, especially pilots. I think the whole aspect of having to report injuries sustained by possibly UFOs is very curious. I think there's more significance behind that than what's there on the surface, and that has to do with us testing this technology. Again, as I think, Rich, you might have said, I don't think that UFOs themselves would be burning people with radiation or anything like that. I think their technology, if they are driven by ETs, have been so far advanced. I mean, goodness, we've looked into our sky so many times, we see nothing at all, and yet we're told that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different crafts that surround us within our atmosphere, just cloaked. So again, there may not be a very tangible thread of truth to this in way of evidence, but again, this is something in way of a notion that is put forth. And again, just to reiterate, I think if anybody comes into contact with some of these crafts and sustains some sort of bodily injury, it's certainly something from our end, and it's certainly due diligence of the office to ask them to report, because they're then taking in all of that data and of course can compile it the way that they would like to. So to answer your question short, yes, I do think that they will move towards that. I do think it'll take quite a bit of time. But again, a lot of people think, especially in the United States, for some weird reason, we have this idea that the disclosure could only come from our government. I don't know why this is, but we have many other countries out there who might be first to put stuff forward. I mean, China, Russia, some of these more prominent countries that have been involved in going into space, they might be the ones to bring this forward. But then again, it's something that affects us as a collective, not just one country or state at a time. The entire planet is affected by this information, and I'm sure they're doing whatever they need to, or at least they feel they need to keep things stemmed in way of information and how it's going to be put out into the public. Because keep in mind, what you have here in way of life and the modern existence is definitely programmed, it's pre-contrived, and it's certainly influenced by those who are really in control and have reins over the experience that we all really wish we had.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to comment on a few of those. Thank you, Michael, from Dark Hour Paranormal. Don't forget to check out his channel here on YouTube. The one thing that I wanted to mention about this SOD, the DOD, and reporting to Congress every year, what they find is that Lou, if you remember the TV show Unidentified, he was trying to get information from Italy and other places around the world, and nobody was really talking to him. And Lou's like, hey, I want the information. Are you willing to tell me what you have? And they're like, well, so working with our international friends is a big part of having that office because it's official. And let's not forget, this isn't for the public. All right, it is, but it isn't. I'll explain. This is for UAPs, which is all government sightings, not for the public. So the public won't be reporting like they're reporting to MUFON or Third Phase of Moon or, even GOOFON for that matter. So unfortunately, we're going to see hand-picked things coming from this office. It's going to be high budget, and they're going to be, I don't know what they're going to do. I never trust them, so I'm not even going to say anything else. Anybody want to add to that?
Well, all I would say is it certainly appears as though they're trying to basically rebrand and change the narrative. They're trying to go from UFO to UAP, and they're making it appear that anything prior to the Nimitz encounter didn't happen or didn't take place. However, we will not let the historical cases die away. I'm going to give you two examples. So we've got 1951 West German Air Base, and for a period of 2 weeks, the meteorologist at the West German Air Base that Gordon Cooper was stationed at, they saw fleets of flying saucers go directly over their airbase. This happened for 2 consecutive weekends. At this point, Gordon Cooper's like, we need to go investigate this. So he contacted his wingman. They both climbed into their F-86 Sabre jets, went up at about a 60-degree angle of attack. We're trying to chase after these silvery discs with domes on top. They could not intercept these because they could turn on a dime. They could make these 90-degree right angle turns. They could go backwards. So an intercept was really out of the question. So this is 1951. Then later in 1957, Gordon Cooper is at Edwards Air Force Base, and they are filming the installation of precision landing gear, precision landing equipment. And, they had cameramen there, and all of a sudden a 30-foot diameter dish-shaped craft with a dome on top hovers over the dry lake bed at Edwards Air Force Base back in 1957. It lands on the dry lake bed. It stays there for 60 seconds, hovers back over the dry lake bed. The gear retracts into the bottom of the craft and then departs. And they got it all on motion picture film reel.
Give me that video.
Was a courier that came from Andrews Air Force Base. He went directly over to Edwards Air Force Base. Now, Gordon Cooper, he did develop the film. He did not run it through a projector, but he did develop the film. That film was put into a pouch. It was handcuffed to the courier and then went back to Andrews Air Force Base. And from that point forward, that evidence in the form of motion picture film reels, and then all of the rest of the gun camera footage, the 8x10 glossy whites, all of the gun camera film from Vietnam and World War II. Where is all this evidence? Again, it's not a lack of evidence, but it's access getting to the evidence.
Man, thank you very much for sharing that. I love it when you go back in history and show the pictures with it. It's just awesome. So thank you for coming on GOOFON too. I appreciate that. So that wraps it up. That's fantastic. So I want to thank everybody again. Dr. J Radio Live. He'll have Whitley Strieber on later today, 8 p.m. Eastern on Dr. J Radio Live. Blake and Brent Cousins from Third Phase of Moon. You know who they are. They're the biggest and the best. They bring everything out to us when it happens, as it happens. Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. You can see him making his documentaries right here on YouTube and on Third Phase UFO Report, the sister channel of Third Phase of Moon. And Apollo Asteria from Apollo Asteria on YouTube. Thank you for coming on as well. And Michael SCHRATT, the UFO historian, the legend, the man. Thank you for coming on. I look, you have no idea how much I love your work. So thank you for that. Everybody, this is Rich from GOOFON on Monday, October 18th, 2021. A little history and a little insight from the UFO panel of Third Phase of Moon. See you guys.